I can't help but feel like A Quiet Place is something of an allegory for the lockdowns of 2020. The similarities are striking if you really look at them. You have to stay to yourself, you shouldn't really go outside, and you have to keep your mouth shut about what you think is happening, or else an alien looking thing will tear your face off. It's interesting that it took us this long for us to get in A Quiet Place game, considering the wild success of the first movie, which came out 7 years ago already? That was fast. Admittedly, I was a bit reluctant to pick up The Road Ahead. The initial reviews weren't incredible, and frankly, I have better things to spend my money on than bad video games, which is obviously why I picked up a copy of Call of Duty Vanguard. Look, I was a different person back then, okay? But then I saw that The Road Ahead was on sale, and suddenly, I had a choice. Spend $20 on a game with mixed reviews, or surprise my wife with something nice like flowers or chocolate. You can see where this is going. The Road Ahead takes place 119 days after the aliens have landed on Earth. You play as Alex Taylor, an asthmatic college student whose life is really about to start sucking because her student loans just came due. Just kidding. Everyone knows student loans don't exist in the apocalypse. That's why every presidential election, I vote for the SMOD party. Alex, along with her boyfriend Martin and a few others, are taking shelter at a hospital, but the hospital somehow runs out of supplies after just 119 days of living there, and so Alex and Martin must venture out to find more. Now, as my wife likes to remind me every time I attempt resetting my own broken tibia, I am not a doctor, so I have no idea how plentiful hospitals are in the way of medical supplies and food, but I gotta believe that a group of 6-ish people wouldn't completely drain an entire hospital of supplies in just 3.5 months, unless they were like super gluttons or something. Also, now's a good time to mention that I'm about to spoil the ever-living Jimothy out of this game. You've been warned. Alex and Martin find a ranch and begin searching it for medical supplies and food, but Alex starts to feel a little nauseous and, well, I'm sure you can see where this is going. Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely a family man, but their survival is based on silence, and last time I checked, children are quite literally the epitome of loud, unfettered chaos. Why would you risk having a kid before getting somewhere safe, especially since the cost of condoms is at an all-time low? For the record, I had this concern about the first movie too, but at least they had a decently soundproof safe room. The ranch is sufficiently creepy enough. There are notes left around that offer some backstory to the people who previously lived there before the aliens took over. There's some writing on the wall that offers clues as to where you can find things. For instance, there's a message on the infirmary that says, "Let Dad get the medicine," which is super convenient. They also put the tagline of the first movie on the wall to pay homage to the game's cinematic predecessors, although in 2024, homage was just another word for, I don't know, just do what they did. Alex and Martin find a conveniently located safe room, and we know it's a safe room because it is labeled Safe Room in giant white letters. There they are. That's awfully convenient. There are also red candles everywhere, mattresses on the walls, and the music becomes more relaxing. Now, this is a neat way for the game to add some time to breathe for the player, but every single safe room in the game has the same 3 elements. They all have the candles, they all have the mattresses on the walls, and the same music plays when you enter all of them. I'm not complaining that they exist, just that this gives off serious, we're on a tight deadline and limited budget vibes. Alex then reveals she's pregnant to Martin, and he starts, I don't know what this is. Is he in pain? This brings us to a rather touching moment where Martin tries to convince Alex that everything will be okay and that they should be happy because something good finally happened. Alex makes an extremely valid point about the baby potentially making noise and asks how they're going to deal with that, to which Martin responds with,
I don't know, but we will. I don't know.
Not exactly doing dads any favors here, Martin. Despite Martin's clear ineptitude for disaster preparation, this moment offers us a great character moment, showing us Martin's devotion to Alex and Alex's concerns for being a mother in a world gone topsy-turvy. She looks to Martin for strength, and he delivers, even if the lack of movement in his face is kinda creepy. At this point, I'm personally very excited to see how Alex and Martin work together to overcome the obstacles of a pregnancy in an apocalyptic hellscape. Surely he will not immediately die. Oh, look at that, he immediately died. Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, you can see this coming a mile away. Alex gets her leg stuck in a log and Martin sacrifices himself to save her. Now, I don't mean to downplay the game's clear attempt at a heartfelt and emotionally impactful plot point, but this is a trope that's been beat to death worse than my dreams and aspirations were by the public school system. The writers use this scene to build up Martin as Alex's emotional support system just to yell, "Psych!" and kill him off so that the rest of the game can happen. Also, throwing things for the sake of distracting the creature is a massive part of the gameplay mechanics. Couldn't Martin have done that exact thing? There's tons of foliage and sticks laying around. Just pick something up and throw it at the car. Alex makes it back to the hospital and informs her dad Kenneth of her irresponsible choice not to use basic risk mitigation tactics and ended up pregnant. She attempts to convince Kenneth to leave the hospital and the group there behind because she doesn't trust Laura, Martin's mother. You see, Laura blames Alex for the death of Martin's dad, and now obviously Martin. Alex doesn't want to raise her child around someone with that kind of negative energy, and so she convinces Kenneth to find out if the National Guard are still at a nearby camp. Kenneth obliges, and then Alex steals medication from the storage room. I mean, I get it. I wouldn't be a huge fan of Laura either, but stealing the group's medication seems like a low blow. There might be some decent folks here after all.
This area's off limits.
Right. Sorry. I just heard someone got into the pills and I was worried. But I'll go. Okay.
Good to see you're finally up. Laura will be glad to hear it.
Never mind. Laura finds out Alex is pregnant and goes full evil stepmother on her and locks her in her room. So Laura's gone completely off the reservation, and apparently that's enough for Kenneth to realize that they need to leave. He leads Alex to an air vent through which she can escape, and then tells her not to worry about him and that he'll meet her at the camp. This might be nitpicky, but this feels like the writers didn't know what to do with Kenneth, and they literally tell you not to worry about it. What are you gonna do, Dad? I'll disappear for a couple minutes and then reappear exactly where the next plot point is going to happen. How are you gonna do that, Dad?
Don't worry about me.
Oh, okay. Alex is about to make her escape, but oh no, Laura and Mark show up to confront Kenneth. Okay, so actually introducing Laura and Mark as additional antagonists is a really good idea. It offers some complexity to this survival game where instead of just trying to avoid scary monsters, you're also trying to avoid your mother-in-law. And that, while kind of hilarious, makes the game much more intriguing. You don't know where the monsters are, and you also don't know where Laura is, and you have to avoid both. Also, Laura is clearly unstable, so running into her could mean death for both of you. But the game's just like, yeah, that is a good idea, isn't it? We're not gonna do it though. So Kenneth, Laura, and Mark get into an argument in the hallway, and then Mark, who's either an idiot or hopped up on a serious amount of Laura's butt crack stench, does this. You're an idiot, Mark. You're just simply an idiot. So everybody then runs off in different directions to find their place for the next major plot contrivance. Alex starts crawling through the air vents and eventually escapes the hospital. This is where I have to tip my hat to the developers. The ambiance, the music, the tension, it is all on point. The darkness of the hospital being lit by only red lights makes for a pretty terrifying atmosphere, while slowly opening doors and avoiding paint cans can get extremely stressful. Although the sheer amount of paint cans is a bit sus. Maybe they hired contractors to repaint the hospital and they didn't have time to clean those up. Also, apparently these guys were painting the outside of the hospital. Alex is moving slowly and quietly through the camp, avoiding each and every last paint can until suddenly she sees Mark, and Mark's got a gun, which makes sense when you're trying to stay as silent as possible. Oh wait, no it doesn't! Mark starts shooting at the alien because he's an idiot and gets killed faster than you can say plot contrivance. Alex, on the other hand, makes her way through the rest of the creepy wooded area and into a house. We're allowed a moment to breathe at a safe room, and then we continue through the house, but right as we're about to leave, guess who shows up? It is absolutely plausible that Laura made it to this house without us seeing her or getting caught by the alien. That's not the problem. The problem is that Laura's presence in this game is really only important when it's necessary to push the plot forward. She's supposed to be trying to get to Alex, right? So why aren't we running into her more often than during the occasional cutscene? Alex ends up falling from a ledge, which alerts an alien. So she promptly dresses herself with Plot armor! And quietly sneaks past. I get it. Realistically, the alien isn't necessarily going to find you every single time you make a noise. You can run, hide, or even try to distract it before it gets to you. The problem is that during actual gameplay, if you do get caught by the alien, the game doesn't allow you to run away or move at all. You are forced to stand there and wait for the alien to punish you like you're a child who talked back to his mother and now dad is grabbing the paddle. This noise is louder than most of the noises I got killed for. So how is it Alex is allowed to survive this one? I don't have an issue with her being able to escape after making a noise. In fact, I think it creates even more tension having to then run away. But this isn't the first cutscene that breaks the rules that are established during actual gameplay. It's like the creatures have selective hearing or something, and it's super aggravating. So this is how my wife feels. At this point, we've crapped our pants so much that the developers decide to give us a break with a flashback scene that takes place on day 1. Alex is recovering from an asthma attack when Laura asks if she's okay. Alex asks where Martin is and Laura gives her this little gem.
I told him to go do the dishes. I told him to go do the dishes.
She's fighting to regain control of her breathing and the dude just leaves her? What a jerk! We then get a touching but seriously cheesy exposition dump in which we get some context on Alex's asthma. We find out that she had it under control until her mom died, to which Laura responds with,
I remember when I lost my mother. I didn't know love could hurt like that.
Okay, so at the risk of coming off like a completely unfeeling asshole, who speaks like that? I swear, the dialogue in this game sounds like it was written by a drunk AI.
You see last night's game? The clown show. I mean, it'll be a miracle if they make the playoffs.
See what I mean? Martin decides to show back up after abandoning Alex while she, almost suffocated to death because of him. And this is where I'd like to officially introduce the first ever cheese warning in the history of the Laser Eyes YouTube channel. A history which spans like 5 seconds, but a rich 5-second history nonetheless. Alright, let's get this over with.
A warning has been issued by the Laser Eyes Cheese Detection Task Force for the following content. This content is not recommended for viewing by people who suffer from chronic stomach aches, lactose intolerance, constipation, diarrhea, rectum irritation, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, urinary incontinence, benign prostatic hyperplasia, and functioning ears. Laser Eyes is not responsible for any involuntary bowel movements that occur.
Single or double?
Single. Thanks, Robert.
I live to serve.
And don't you forget it.
Never my queen.
She's always been inventive. What was it that everyone called her when she was little?
Tuneful technician.
Martin? I can't find the bottle opener. Can you?
On it. Wanna help me look?
Sure.
It's gotta be around here somewhere. Hey, I don't suppose they could use a hammer instead?
Not unless they want bits of glass in their beer.
Ooh, crunchy beer. Delicious.
All is quiet, all is calm, though the storm isn't gone. See the sun catch my breath. Oh, I know what comes next. For just a moment, I feel warm in the eye of the storm.
Alex.
Glad that's over with. The level ends with Alex's dad crying about being a doctor and not being able to save his wife because the story isn't cliche enough yet. And then Martin and Alex see the meteor carrying all of the aliens fall to Earth. Back at day 119, Alex meets up with her dad at a radio station and he tells her that the antenna needs to be repaired so they can find out where the National Guard is. So Alex makes her way there and fixes the antenna. They find out the National Guard is loading folks onto boats and taking them to a nearby island because the creatures can't swim. Alright, our heroine may actually have a shot at delivering this baby after all. Alex starts making her way back to Kenneth, but oh no! Laura just randomly shows up again. Seriously, this chick has problems. Kenneth and Laura get into a struggle and then... Well, that sucks. I'll give the writers this much. They really went all in on the whole "you're not allowed to be happy until you finish the game" thing. They pulled absolutely no punches when it comes to making the main character's life miserable. And honestly, I respect that. Hearing Kenneth's voice on the radio actually kind of made you feel a little bit safer, and then the game's just like, ha, sucker! So now, Alex must try to reach the harbor all by her lonesome. She makes it through the camp and finds shelter under a waterfall, and then has herself a good cry. I can't say I blame her. Her life kinda sucks. And yeah, I've given the story a ton of crap so far, but I'll give the writers some props here. They didn't fill this part with any unnecessary fluff. They just let Alex cry. It's simple, yet effective, and it allows us the chance to connect with Alex without being told what to feel. In short, it's a great show don't tell moment. But then they ruin it with this bullshit.
I'm drowning. I don't know which way's up.
At this point, we've hit the meat and potatoes of the game. You continue making your way to the harbor, avoiding the alien, finding keys, unlocking doors, and picking up random inhalers that are left around. I guess a lot of people had asthma in this town. Eventually, you make it to the harbor and discover that there's only one boat remaining at the fire station. Alex must replace fuses in boxes that are conveniently located right in front of the doors she needs to get through to access the boat. And then she needs to go through the station, turning wheel valves on or off to get from place to place. I'm not sure how likely it is that Alex would actually know to do this, but it is a neat little puzzle type thing to solve, so I'll just give the writers a pass here. One of the fuses ends up shorting out and sparking a fire. The smoke knocks Alex out, but a stranger pulls her to safety. Personally, I figured this person to be a fireman or a National Guards person. But holy crap, would you look at that? It's Laura! Popping in at the last moment because the script needs her again. Apparently, Laura survived getting yeeted by the alien and somehow didn't end up with a broken spine from the impact of hitting the building. And then she followed Alex all the way into the harbor just to be at the right place at the right time to save Alex's life. And this is where I'd like to introduce a new segment called English Literature with Professor Laser Eyes. Deus Ex Machina is Latin for God from the Machine. It refers to a plot device where a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence, often through the sudden intervention of a new character. This has been English Literature with Professor Laser Eyes. Laura apologizes to Alex, and in what's actually a very touching moment, Alex lets Laura feel the baby. Alright, I forgive you, Karen. I mean, Laura. Laura then disappears, but she leaves Alex her gas mask so that Alex can make it to the boat without passing out from all the plot contrivances. I mean, smoke. Alex makes it to the boat, but the creature followed her into the, area where they keep the boats, whatever that's called. Suddenly, a foghorn sounds off in the distance, which we end up finding out was actually Laura sacrificing herself, and the creature runs off so that Alex can safely turn on the boat. This is the quietest boat I've ever heard. Alex is about to escape, but oh no, an alien grabs onto the boat. But there's a radio on the boat, and the feedback from that causes the alien to open its head or whatever, and Alex grabs a conveniently placed shotgun and blasts it in the face. And that's it. That's A Quiet Place, the plot contrivance ahead. So I've crapped on this game viciously for a few minutes now, particularly for the writing and plot issues. But how is the actual gameplay? It's honestly not bad. I mean, I have questions about the number of paint cans, but the game does a great job of setting the tone early and not really letting up apart from the occasional safe room. Sure, there are a couple of issues with the gameplay loop. For instance, certain items can only be held in either the right or left hand respectively, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. At one point, the game introduces a new mechanic to the aliens where they can use echolocation to spot you even if you're not making noise. The only way to not get noticed is to not move at all. It's kinda neat, but it felt like the developers only added this last minute to slow the game down even more. Also, why weren't the aliens doing this from the beginning? Also, this doesn't even happen in the movies, so what are we even doing here, guys? There are even a few mechanics that are used once in the game and then never again. For instance, there's a car chase sequence in which you use a gun to knock the creatures off the car, but the guns are never used again until the literal last second. Also, for some reason, Alex has a huge problem with guns, and that's established early in the game, but it is never explored throughout the rest of the game. I don't really know what was up with that. But either way, I think it could have been cool to introduce guns stands as a legit last measure to get a monster to back off, but that would have only worked if there was a chase mechanic, and there isn't. There's one part during the train sequence where the game forces you to step on something that alerts the creature and then triggers a chase sequence, but this is the only chase sequence in the game. During actual gameplay, if you trigger the creature, you're dead. No ifs, ands, or buts, you're just dead. Like, game over. I mean, it has autosave, but still. But when it comes down to it, the game is decently scary. The atmospheres are great, the sound is mostly on point. Not being able to see that well and having the creature appear with only a flashing or red-yellow light illuminating it is terrifying. Honestly, they did a great job of capturing the stressful tone of the movies in the gameplay, and for that, I offer them a hearty nice one, guys. I think fans of the Quiet Place franchise will enjoy this game for the most part. It's relatively faithful to the Quiet Place world, and despite all of my criticisms of the writing, I still had fun playing the game. And frankly, it's only like $20 on Steam, so honestly, it's a pretty small price to pay for something to tide you over until Alien Isolation 2 comes out. Might go play the first one now, actually. Alright, that's all I got. I'll see you in the next video or whatever. Bye.